All right. So again, thanks for joining us and welcome again to the morning meeting. And today, what we are going to talk about is, when prospecting. Let's talk about how do you decide whether or not a facility is worth visiting as a home care agency owner. All right. So, all right. So let's just go ahead and jump on in. All right. Share screen. All right. So one of the things we're doing right now is we're actually in the middle of our in the beginning stages still. We're getting ready to start our second lesson for our home care 101 today. And I mean it's day two of our course. It's a 4-week course, 2 days a week. And we cover business development and we cover home care management. So we are currently, and today, by the way, is the last day that you can actually register for the class at the price. There's a link somewhere in the description box below. So let's take a look here. So this is one of the tools that we actually go through in our course. It's our prospecting workbook. So we're going to go over here. We have a test facility. We're just going to use a random, any random place. Let's honor the Munsters here, if those of you who are old enough to remember the show, and we'll use their home address of 1313 Mockingbird Lane. And we'll call it 888-123-4567. So we have some of the basic stuff. Now, this is just any random facility. You can go online, just do a quick Google search, and you will be able to get all of this basic information. So one of the things we're going to look at is, as we're building our general facility profile, is we need to eventually establish who our primary contact is, what's their phone number, job title, things of that nature. And we need to understand who's our secondary contact. If you guys have ever gone over anything with me, if you've watched the show before, and by the way, if you're watching this on Facebook, please share this on your timeline, or if you're watching this on YouTube, again, share it on your timeline, on your social media. Help us grow the channel and give us a like, because that really helps out the YouTube algorithm. And if you like what we're putting out, don't forget to subscribe. We also rebroadcast this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of other platforms as an audio. So once again, show us some love and subscribe to this show, and just like and share. All right. So if you followed us anywhere on any of this, you're going to know that I'm big on, and I'm always harping on, that you need to penetrate an account as much as possible. Don't just think that one person sending you a referral once in a while is going to be enough. That's not going to sustain your business, and you're just setting yourself up for a disaster long term. So one of the things is, as I'm going over here, we're going to want to make sure that we have, hold on a second. Here we are, spotlight. All right. We got to make sure that you have a primary contact person and a secondary contact person. There's always got to be somebody you could see if someone is busy, or if somebody is just not able to see you. Or look, the reality is the average turnaround time in the senior care industry is actually about 18 to 36 months. And you don't know where that person is, or if they're about to get fired, if they're about to jump ship and go to another place. Look, it's a high turnaround industry, so you want to make sure you always have a backup person in the building so you don't lose the account. What type of a facility is it? I mean, are we talking about a skilled nursing facility? Are we talking about, an assisted living? Is this a doctor's office? What is it? Who are we talking, what are we talking about? And if it applies, how many beds? What's the maximum census? As you're going to see in a moment, this is probably one of the most important bits of information you're going to have. All right. So the as we're moving on, let's take a look at your ideal visit day and time. When is it actually worthwhile to go and see these people? That this is very important to understand. When is their UR meeting, their utilization review? All of these things, depending on the facility that you're visiting, it's important. So now we're not going to get into in today's video about how to calculate the estimated revenue for potential for a facility, and we're not going to talk about tracking the key personnel. We're going to focus purely on figuring out the probability and the potential of working with a facility. If you all excuse me, I have a terrible cold. Thankfully it's not, COVID, but I do have a terrible, terrible cold. And I appreciate your understanding because quite frankly, I probably sound a little bit like Kermit the Frog at this point. So as we're moving on this, let's take a look. So what is the potential? First, let's clarify this. Potential means how likely is the facility or the account to have the right type of clients for you, for your business. So on a scale of 1 to 10, do they service clients in your target area? Look, if you're a franchise, this is important because you have an assigned territory. If you're a mom and pop, like single independent agency owner, again, you have to understand what did you mark off as the areas you can realistically service? And are your ideal clients being serviced by that facility? I'll give you guys an example. If let's say here in New Jersey, if I have a home care agency down in Voorhees, which is the southern end of New Jersey, and a facility services Hackensack, which is on the other end of the state, that is not necessarily a good place for me. They don't service my type of clients. Or let's get a little more specific. If I'm in Essex County, New Jersey, meaning let's say the facility only services clients in the city of Newark. If I'm a private pay agency, that might not be a good place for me. Not saying you'll never get a client out of there. What I'm saying is for the particular types of clients, the potential for that, I would probably rate a place like, like Newark, if I was in Hudson County, like a 2. I mean, in Essex County, like a 2, just because, like, realistically, I'm not going to get a lot of private paying clients out of there. So, which brings us to the next thing we want to look at. Does the surrounding community contain our target demographic? Well, again, if you're a private pay agency, you want to look at a community that has the right type of people. Now, ideally, you're looking for, what you're looking for is clients that are in the, that have a household income in that 75 to possibly $150,000 range. These are people, depending on the community. Now, 75,000 a year may not be much in San Jose, but it might be worthwhile, down in Little Rock, Arkansas. So look at your community. Look at what is a reasonable income, and you want to target an income in your area that allows people to afford private pay service, but not necessarily enough to where they don't have to work. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that you might not want to target the ultra rich trust fund communities right away. Yes, there is a lot of potential there, but these are people that they can make better or other arrangements, And a lot of times they don't necessarily understand the benefit of our services. But you don't want somebody that's only making, minimum wage, anywhere from 8 to 13 bucks an hour, depending on where you are in the country. So you want to make sure, does the surrounding community contain your target demographic? So let's take a look at this. If we're talking about, we're going to continue using that example of, Newark, New Jersey. Well, if we're a private pay agency and the facility's in, southward of Newark, I'm going to say, no, it doesn't. That is going to get a 1. Okay. So does this particular facility offer amenities or specialized services that are going to be appealing to my client base? Well, this is another big thing we want to take a look at and we want to consider. All right. So if we're looking to get higher end clients that are used to, a certain type of service, we want to look at that. And all you're going to do is go to the website, do a quick Google search with the facility name, and you're going to be able to see where they are. Go to websites like, Senior Blue Book, or you're going to go to like Alternatives for Seniors, Place for Mom. There's a bunch of websites that'll give you this information. Or like I said, just do a simple Google search and go directly to their website. Now, so let's just assume, again, if the facility is located in in the same area, we're gonna say it might have 2 or 3 amenities that are appealing. So we'll give it a 3. And does the facility have positive online reviews? That's something that we're going to take in with a grain of salt, because as we all know, not all reviews, the squeaky wheel usually gets the grease. So many times facilities, just like in our own businesses, don't know how to manage properly the reviews. Also, take a look at their Medicare rating. All right, because a high 5-star rating usually will have better online reviews, and you want to take that into account as well. So let's say this place is just a 5-star facility and they're fantastic. So let's call it an 8. Okay, when it comes to that. So is the landscaping and parking area maintained? Look, this is actually one of those things that to me, it's a no-brainer and common sense, but to a lot of people, they don't look at this. Maintaining a parking lot or maintaining landscaping can be very costly. Keeping a parking lot, an asphalt parking lot, free of potholes and stuff, it costs a lot of money. Keeping very nice landscaping in a building costs a lot of money. And that means that these costs are typically passed on to the client, which means they're going to attract a higher level of clientele. All right, so again, let's say a 3. And is the building lobby and furniture properly maintained? If you walk in and you see stains from a leaky roof on the drop ceiling, if you see that the furniture is worn, that there's holes in the couches, that the carpet is worn, it hasn't been done properly, the wallpaper's peeling off, this place doesn't have the budget necessary to maintain a high standard. All right, it doesn't mean it's a bad facility. It just goes to the potential of getting you the right type of clients, the clients that you are specifically looking for. Again, if you're a Medicaid agency, or that's the type of client you're looking for, Medicaid, VA, DODD waiver, whatever, you may not want to find that place that's pristine. So you qualify these accounts based on the potential for your specific client set. So for our purpose and for this example, we're going to call this a 1. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is probability. So that means probability is, now that we know that whether or not they have the right type of clients for us, what is the likelihood of them actually giving us those clients? So when you walked in, did the receptionist greet you in a warm and professional manner? Let's just say she was awesome. All right. Facilities that are not friendly to outside vendors, their reception people are trained to be very curt and to get you out of their building as quickly as possible. So this is important. Is there a prominent display of competing home care agency brochures? If there is, that actually speaks highly to the likelihood of you getting a referral, because it means that they are not working with any particular agency, or they don't have any sort of preferred provider relationship or exclusivity relationship. It also means that there's a high likelihood that they do not have um, in-house home care services. The places that have these types of relationships or provide services in-house, they generally do not promote or advertise other agencies. And instead of having other agencies prominently displayed, it means that they will likely not permit other agencies to advertise. So having this wall of brochures just means you're going to have to go a little bit extra to get the bulk of the referrals out of there and really show your worth. But it means that your initial foot in the door is not going to be as complicated as it would be. So let's assume that this place does. Let's say that's a 10. All right. Now, were the staff's business cards prominently displayed? That doesn't mean that are they out there for the open. Sometimes it does. A lot of these facilities will have the business cards right out there where anyone can just walk by and pick one out. Now, this, I consider it to be an important thing. If it's not easily prominently displayed, it's got to be easily accessible. You got to be able to get the business card with relative ease from the front desk. All right. If they don't have them out where it's easy to find, you should be able to get them easy. The facilities that don't are either closed off to vendors, or they're just really don't want to be bothered by vendors, or they're facing some sort of negative criticism and they just don't want people to have easy access. Either way, it's a bit of a red flag if you're having a hard time getting anyone's contact information, and that's usually found through the business cards. So let's assume that this place, doesn't make it easy. Now, did the potential referral source meet with you? This might not happen right away, but if you've gone by 5 or 6 times and you've noticed that you're just not getting anywhere with these people, and that it's very difficult for you to actually get in touch with that referral partner, there's a couple of things going on here. All right. And, the harder it is or the more complicated it becomes to actually talk to them, even in light of COVID. I'm talking about if you can't pick up the phone and after, 7, 8, 9 attempts, you still can't get anyone, and they've just put you in that endless pit of voicemails that never get returned. Or if you get a general email address and there's no specific person, and no matter how hard you try, you can't get a hold of them. If you visited the facility a number of times and they just refuse to come out or give you an appointment, that means that there's something going on there. And again, it doesn't mean it's a bad facility. It just means that there's a higher likelihood that they're just not looking to work with anyone new at the time. So let's say we've managed to get a hold of somebody in the average, 2 to 4 visits. So we'll call this an 8 because it's pretty good. And were you informed that there is an in-house agency or a preferred provider? Now, this is a question, all right, that I find it a bit loaded. Okay. There are many places that say, oh, we already have somebody we use. Or they'll give you the brush off like, we really don't refer out, or we don't typically refer out, or we have in-house. So your follow-up questioning and how you deal with that, and we'll talk about that in another video on how to handle these objections. But typically speaking, it's not a good sign. If they're telling you that right away, you're going to have your work cut out for you. So what does all of this mean? Well, if we have a score of 31 here and a score of 18 there, that gives us a total score of this facility of a 49. So that would mean that this falls under high probability, meaning that they're willing to work with us. We have a good shot of them working with us. All right, but there's a low potential. So we're going to want to visit this place, you know, that maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, depending on how things flow. But for the most part, this is not a facility we're going to dedicate all of our time. This is not going to be one of our, top accounts. This is not going to be our house account. This is going to be something that we're going to want to nurture and grow with them, but it's not something that's going to dedicate. So let's say if we would have scored a low probability with low potential, this is the type of place you visit, once a quarter, maybe once or twice a year, depending on how bad it actually is. That just means that they really don't have your client and they don't really want to work with anybody anyway. If we're looking at high probability but with low potential, that means they're open to working with you. They just don't really have a lot of your clients. You visit them a little bit more often simply because they may get that client, and you just want to be sure that you're the company that they can count on. That one client that they call you for could turn out to be like 168-hour a week client. Then we're moving on to low probability but high potential. That means that there's a lot of potential referrals, but they might have somebody that they're working with, or they might have an in-house agency. All right. Or they just might flat out not be looking to work with anyone new. You do want to visit them, once every week or every other week. That's how often you want to put them on your rotation, simply because without fail, every home care agency in the world will at some point screw up with an account, and that'll be your shot to come in. All right. They might just your persistence, they might hear something. You might get a client through other means that goes to their facility. You may have a referral for them. A lot of things can happen, and that low probability could change. But if the potential is definitely there, you want to dedicate some time to this place. And the last one, which is just, the holy grail, so to speak, meaning you have a high potential, large amount of clients potentially for you, and they don't have anyone that they particularly work with. So that means that it's just a matter of you going in, working your methods, using the techniques, getting that referral partner to work with you, and building your relationship, and eventually you'll penetrate into the building, and you can get yourself a very good volume of business out of there. So that is our quick training on potential versus probability. And you can learn more details on this and more about how to prospect and how to qualify accounts on our Home Care 101 course. There's a link somewhere around here, so feel free to take a gander. We are still taking registrants for this course. I usually run open registration until the end of the first week, but that'll be tomorrow. So tomorrow everything will be closing, and we are still running that sale, just to give everybody a shot. And now, if again, depending on where you're watching this, please give us a like, share this video, actually like share it on your timelines if wherever you're watching it. And if you're watching the podcast replay, don't forget to subscribe and give us a like and leave us a review. Let us know what you think. If this information's been helpful, great, thanks. We appreciate you watching or listening. And this has been the morning meeting. Thank you, and you guys have a great one.